AITA for not helping my sister, who became homeless just after she gave birth to her and my soon-to-be ex-husband's baby. I, 26F, grew up with my younger sister, 24F, in a tough household. Our parents were strict, but not in a way that made us feel secure. It was the kind of strictness where mistakes led to yelling, and emotions weren't really allowed. My sister and I leaned on each other growing up. We became each other's emotional support system, and we used to say we'd always stick together, no matter what. When she turned 18, we both agreed it was time to leave home. I was 20, working a part-time job, and I had saved enough for a small apartment in a new city. We pooled what we had and moved in together. For a while, it felt like a dream. We had freedom for the first time in our lives, and we were determined to make it on our own. A couple of years later, I met Mark, 28M. He was charming, funny, and had this way of making me feel special. I fell for him hard, and he seemed just as into me. We started dating, and within 2 years, we got married. My sister was thrilled for me, or at least I thought she was. She helped me pick out my dress, plan my bachelorette party, and stood by my side as my maid of honor. I thought she and Mark got along well, but nothing ever seemed out of the ordinary. We were all close. My sister lived nearby, and she'd often come over for dinner or movie nights. It felt like we were building this little family, something I'd always dreamed of after our chaotic upbringing. But everything shattered a few months ago. My sister called me one evening and said she needed to talk. She sounded nervous, but I didn't think much of it. When she arrived, she looked pale and uneasy. I asked her what was wrong, and she blurted out that she was pregnant. I was surprised but happy for her. I asked if she was ready for this and who the father was. That's when she broke down crying. She told me the baby was Mark's. I remember sitting there, frozen. It felt like my brain couldn't process what she was saying. She kept crying, saying it was a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen. But all I could hear was the fact that my husband and my sister, the two people I trusted most, had betrayed me in the worst way possible. Mark came home while she was still there. I confronted him, and he didn't even try to deny it. He said it had been going on for months, and that he didn't want it to happen this way. As if there was any right way for this to happen. I kicked him out that night and told my sister to leave too. I wanted nothing to do with either of them. For the next few weeks, I was in a daze. I filed for divorce and blocked Mark on everything. My sister kept trying to call me, but I ignored her. She sent me long, apologetic messages, but I couldn't even read them. The betrayal was too much. Fast forward to a few weeks ago. My parents called me out of the blue, which was unusual. They told me my sister had just given birth, but Mark had kicked her out of his house. She called them from the hospital, saying she had nowhere to go. Mark was planning to fight for custody of the baby and didn't want her back. She was desperate and asking for my help. I told my parents no. They were shocked. They said I was being heartless, that she was my sister, and she had a newborn who needed stability. I told them I didn't care. She made her choices, and now she had to deal with the consequences. They kept trying to guilt me, saying the baby was innocent in all of this. But I couldn't bring myself to feel anything other than anger. My sister ended up going to a shelter for single mothers. My parents were livid with me, saying I had room in my apartment and could easily let her stay. They said I was punishing the baby for something that wasn't its fault. But every time I thought about helping her, I remembered her betrayal. I couldn't do it. My parents haven't stopped calling me about this. They keep saying I'm cruel for leaving her in a shelter. They told me I should be ashamed of myself for turning my back on my own flesh and blood. I told them it was ironic for them to talk about family bonds when she destroyed mine. The thing is, I don't even know how I feel anymore. Part of me feels justified. She made her bed, and now she has to lie in it. But another part of me feels guilty. I think about the baby and wonder if I'm being too harsh. But then I remember her sneaking around behind my back, lying to me, smiling in my face while sleeping with my husband. It's a never-ending cycle of anger and guilt. My parents keep pushing the idea of forgiveness. But how do you forgive something like this? How do you move past such a deep betrayal? I'll try to focus on rebuilding my life. I'm in therapy, trying to process everything, but it's hard when my family keeps bringing it up. They act like I'm the villain for refusing to help, but they don't understand how much this broke me. AITA for refusing to help my sister and her baby? Or am I right to stand my ground and cut her out of my life completely?